Hey, good morning. I'm Jeff Harrison. Welcome to Sunrise Business Mastermind. It's part of the SCORE program here in the Coachella Valley. And behind the camera is Amy, and over here in the corner is Andrew from Autopilot Your Business. And today, what we want to do is we want to talk about email marketing and building a database. And before we jump into that, I just want to give you a real quick overview of who and what SCORE is. SCORE is a national organization that our tax dollars fund, and it's funded by the Small Business Administration. And really what it does, it is a resource. Actually, it's a plethora of knowledge that you and I can walk into any SCORE location in the United States and say, hey, I need help with this. And they have someone that's on staff that can actually say, hey, come on in, sit down, and we have that knowledge or background that we can help you get there. Now, here's the coolest part. Most of these people are retired or they're just about ready to retire. In other words, they have already walked down the road you're about to embark on, or that you're on already, but they've already experienced a lot of those pitfalls that we want to avoid as entrepreneurs or business owners. Now, if you go in there and there is not someone that will answer your question, again, they have a resource of people all over the country. There's about 13,000 of these people, and they will help you get you where you want to go. And there is no time limit. If it takes you longer, if you're brand new and you're saying, hey, I'm incubating this business idea, or you are, quite frankly, you're going out of business, you need somebody to help you, take it out of business. They'll help you with that. And there's no charge for this because, again, our tax dollars are funding that. So reach out to the local SCORE office. If you're watching and you're not in the area, just look it up online, SCORE. But here in the Coachella Valley, it's scorecv.org, and you can actually write online, make an appointment, find out more about it, or call 760-773-6507. Okay, so let's get into this today. As I said, we're going to talk about email marketing and building your database. So we're going to make it real simple. It's a 6-step program. You can probably get this on, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 pages. So step 1, you want to figure out, hey, you want to know what your reason is. My reason is, hey, why do I want to build and attract a database? Is there a reason behind that? Does your business require a list? Well, quite frankly, the answer should be yes, because I can't imagine any business out there not needing a list of clients. Okay, so the first thing is you want to build a list that says, hey, I want to build a list of raving fans. These are people who know, like, and trust me. They're people who are current customers. They're thinking about doing business, or maybe they're future customers that, depending on your sales cycle, you create this process. So keep that in mind. Everyone you're attracting, but you need to decide, hey, what is the reason for that? Here's some examples. Let's say, for instance, you have, I'll just use an example, one of our clients. Okay, she has her own podcast, and the podcast is just something that's on iTunes. It's a way to broadcast. Think about it as a little mini TV show or radio show. She does both, and it goes out to the world. Well, she wants to attract people that want to listen and engage with her on that. So her reason for getting that list is to have more of an audience that listens and engages with her. Now, over time, she then, as the list grows, then she introduces them to the next step. And we'll get into this in a second, but the next step, and she wants to introduce people to her daily affirmations, because she's more of, I'm going to say, a success coach, a life coach type of thing. And she also is a photographer. So she has some incredible pictures. She loves to write. She's an author. So she puts her own quotes on there. Well, now she wants to attract those people. So it's an evolution. So decide on step 1. Why are you wanting to build a list? Oh, by the way, those people watching, if you have a question, Amy's on the computer, and you can just simply put your question or comment in there, and we can have this engagement. So I want to encourage you to do that. So let's talk about step 2. You want to create a resource of content. And by that, I mean, hey, build 3 to 6 months worth of content that you already have done. Now, don't let that overwhelm you, 3 to 6 months. Let's keep that in mind. I'm not saying you have to have a daily email to go out. In fact, I would encourage you, probably not everybody, but sometimes you don't want a daily email to go out, because I want you to put your hat on the other side and say, if you were receiving a daily email that was sometimes, maybe it's just overwhelming, right? So let's imagine you only send out something to this list that you're building once a week. So if you go out 6 months, what are you talking about? 26 pieces of content. Now, again, that could sound overwhelming, but it's really not, because now that you know the reason, you can start creating that content. what this does for you, gang, is it allows you to be able to email database of information, and it's all automated. In other words, saying, hey, you know what? I know what I'm going to say next Thursday, and I know what I'm going to say the following Thursday. The way that helps you is because now you can focus on doing other things while that stuff is happening in the background. And as you're creating the content, let's think about this. When you create this, it's almost like if you were, have you ever put a bicycle together and you had to open up the instructions, how do you assemble this thing? And I've done this. I look at the pictures and I think, well, I can do this. And I start putting something together and I put it together in the wrong order because that step 1 won't go in when I'm really done step 12. So what this allows you to do is it keeps your thoughts in order, and you're basically leading these people down that road. You're actually putting this puzzle piece together for them, metaphorically, one piece at a time. So you're leading them down that road, wherever it may be. Ultimately, maybe to a sale, to sign up like our gal was talking about before. So the thing you want to do with this, and that's why I say before you even start attracting a list, 1, get a reason. 2, because that'll spur you to say, now when I'm building my content, I have a reason. I know what I'm doing this for. Is it allows you to put this content in there and walk away, but it also allows you to clarify your thoughts. Now, does every piece of content have to be really long? No, it could be a picture that says, what's that saying? Picture is worth 1,000 words, and then you just have something on there, right? Depends on your business. It could be simply, if you sell widgets, it could be a copy or a picture of that widget, or a how to build that, something that they may have thought that was very complicated, and you put that in there. The thing about building content and putting on advance, it takes you away from this process of feeling like you're a fireman. Is it a fire person?
Fire person.
It's a fire person, excuse me. It's a fire person who puts out fires. And you're always responding to a 3-alarm fire that happens always at 3 o'clock in the morning. In other words, you're not having to rush around like that chicken with its head cut off. Sorry, it's a little graphic, but I think you get my point. My grandma used to use that saying. At 3 a.m., you have this stuff already planned out. So that's step 2, okay? So step 1, create the reason. Step 2, create a resource of content before you ever start attracting people. Step 3 is, how are you going to distribute this information? How are you going to send out? Well, you're not going to go hand deliver it. You've got to put it in some kind of a system that will allow you to say, hey, when I put it in there, I can put another one in and schedule. I put another one in and schedule. So let's just say this once a week. Okay, so you're going once a week. So Amy, do me a favor. Let's go over to this board here. I know I said I wasn't going to go over there. Let's just go over there. I don't have a whiteboard, but I do have a white sheet of paper. So let's say, for instance, hey, you make this content and you want it to go out. Let's say you want it to go out on 9/15, and then you want to go out on 9/22, and then you want to go out on 9/29. In other words, once every 7 days. So what will happen is you have content piece A, content piece B, content piece C, and you're loading all this up here. You want to have some place you can do this. Now, for some of you who've come to our blogging program, you can schedule blogs. You can write them all at once, or you can write many times and then put it into your website and then have it come out a week at a time. You do exactly the same thing with your content. Now, there are many places you can do this. Some are, you can do this through MailChimp, which is a free service, okay? And that's one of those things where, you can upgrade. I think you put 2,000 names in there before you have to upgrade. So in other words, you've got a large list of people. 2,000 people is a lot of people. So when you put that in there, you can actually start putting your content in there like we did on the white sheet there of saying, I'm going to put an article in there. Give yourself, and you'll see this is very, very easy. All of them will walk you through it. So I'm not going to teach you how to do that today, because every one of these systems that I've ever experienced, whether it's Constant Contact, Infusionsoft, some people call it Confusionsoft, but that's just because it's more elaborate. It'll do a lot more things for you. You can do it with MailChimp. Gosh, Andrew, what are some of the other names?
We've got Office Autopilot.
Office Autopilot.
With Constant Contact.
Yep. So in other words, the bottom line is get yourself a distribution piece, okay? Because what you're going to do is you want to have this set up with all your content, and this will help you build your database. So let's talk about that. Let's go back to the whiteboard here, Amy. So let's say, for instance, you have all this content in there, but it's like, hey, how do I start sending this stuff out? Well, here's what we do. We're going to build, I'm going to say gift. Okay, so you're going to build your gift. So now what you're going to do is everyone who says, hey, Amy, I want that gift. Okay, so this is me, and I say, hey, I want this gift. I click on that, it gives me the gift, but it also automates this process. Does that make sense? So when I give a gift, Andrew likes to call it an ethical bribe, we call it lead magnets, we just say, hey, there's a gift there. When somebody takes that, okay, they get that and you give it to them, you give them something before you ask for anything, and then they give you their name and email address or just an email address, and it starts this process. This is automatic, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit called autoresponder. So that's how your program with your how are you going to distribute, almost every one of those will have this process. Somebody might have to upgrade to get what they call an autoresponder, but they'll all be able to create what's called an opt-in form. Okay, you might want to write that down, opt-in form. Okay, and like it says, it'll give you this opt-in form to use to attract new people into your database seamlessly. Now, let's go back to the gal I was talking about. Just last night, or yesterday afternoon about 4 o'clock, we put her new opt-in page on her Facebook page, right? And by the time I went to bed last night at about 10 o'clock, she already had 20 new people said, hey, that's pretty cool. I want to get your daily affirmations every day. Now let's play this out. What's that worth to you? What if you, Linda, as an example, you had a process that every time you sold your services or business, it was worth $100. And out of every 10 people you shake hands at an event, one person says yes, right? So now let's roll that back into the 20 people who signed up. Those 20 people signed up, and one or two of those people, based on those numbers, will say yes. So those two names on there made her $200. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, does that make sense? So the value of your client, some of you might sell widgets for $5. Some of you might sell something, I was talking to somebody earlier, a Score mentor, and her son sells used rare books. Well, he just, in a day and a half, because he had such a rare book, he had an opportunity to fly to a particular auction in Europe. He had a day and a half notice. But he made a lot of money because that was such a rare find and it was in mint condition. And instead of one person wanted it, many people wanted it, and it increased the value. So when you know this, you can say, hey, what do I need to do? How much effort would I go into to attract my clients? What's my opportunity there? Okay, so that's step 3. Step 4 is, hey, we need to create a lead magnet. So now we're going to do a little homework here. We're going to do some work. This is your offer. Okay, what do you have to offer, or you can offer, that will compel or motivate people to say, hey, I want to give you my name and or my email address. So let's think about that. What would be the offer? So let's go back to the board, Amy. So as an example, okay, let's just talk about, hey, we want to build a list of people for Score. And so what would we do? Well, we have a program, as an example, it's called Tool Time Tips. Okay, so there's our offer. Now, why is this important? Well, here's the thing. When someone comes to one of these events, they're really kind of voting and giving us information with their actions that, you know what, I like, or I need, or I want your services, more of it. So we created, when I say we, Amy, Andrew, and I, we created this program called Tool Time Tip Tuesdays. They're short little videos, and they take each one of these step by step. You want to know what an autoresponder is? You're going to get a little email. You want to know what email list building is like? We'll talk about that. You want to know about MailChimp or that type of stuff? We have all of that on there. You want to know Facebook ads, what that is? We do these little short videos, and they come out every Tuesday. And they're free. There's no selling on there. We just give them to you freely. That's the way we nurture and build our database. So that's something we do in this specific arena to build our database. Now, let's take it back to step one. Why do we do that? Because we want to build an audience that come more to our live events, that come more to our training, that come in more for mentoring, that whatever that is, that was our reason. And we build content. We put our stuff out many months in advance, and so that way it's already set up. So again, we can just focus on marketing. And keep that in mind, because that's what we want to be able to focus on, marketing. We want to spend, after this is done, there are times we have to go back and tweak things, but we only want to spend about 20% of our time on this. We want to spend 80% of our time on marketing. Okay, so think about that. Now, Linda, let's imagine with you, if you wouldn't mind interacting here, is in a brief thought, if you were the person who connected A and B together, and that was your specialty, what kind of lead magnet, if you will, what could you offer that would make me say, you know what, Linda may be that missing piece for me that changes what I do, and I'm willing to give you my name and email address to do that. And then you deliver this gift. It's a free gift that helps me, not brags about you, but helps me. What, any ideas?
Well, if it's not about me, then it could either be about their business and something that I learned recently of something I've read of the nature of their business, and that I could share that with them. Some new tool or tip or something that in their industry that might help them either with a product line or something else that's just been recently put on the marketplace that we think is a hot selling item. I don't know. It's something I read about.
Okay, so let's take it back just a little bit. Let's imagine, okay, that you're doing this. Your goal is you're the connection. You're the person who is putting part A and part B together, and you want to make revenue from that. What if you did something like this, Linda? What if you sought out articles of people that do what you do, okay? And then you share those articles on how valuable it is. In other words, let's say, for instance, like I suspect someone like Jay Abraham would be a person of interest that can make things like this happen, because they know a lot of people. And I'm talking with Amy, and maybe I've just first met Amy, and she's talking about how well her business is going, but there's this disconnect somewhere. And because you've been out in the marketplace, or in this case, Jay Abraham has been out in the marketplace, he says, well, wait a second. I know this guy named Andrew who has that missing piece, but he doesn't have your part, but together you guys could have great synergy and very much success. So if you shared that story and then how big a win it did for them, is that something, as an example, let's say, for instance, maybe you put up there your headline, get my free report on the 3 ways filling in the missing piece could take your business to a new level. Again, I'm just making this up off the top of my head. And then you took that same article and you put that in there, or maybe you wrote a little piece of that and you're going to share it and say, just as it ends, you want to say, now keep in mind, this is the same thing I do with the clients here locally in the Coachella Valley. So if this is something that you think you would like to take advantage of, and let me help you, connect these dots, give me a call or email me at blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Now you're using this is really called a third-party endorsement. Somebody else is doing what you're saying you can do for people, right? And you're using their evidence to say, look at me. I used Linda's services, or I used, in this case, Jay Abraham services, and it took my company from I'm stalled to I propelled. I took it to the moon because of this other connection. We all won, including the marketplace. Okay, so that could be your gift, your lead magnet, because we all know there's somebody out there that is short of something. They need some connection. Now, if I were you, I would probably take it down and say, well, let's not be too broad, hoping I get somebody. I would say, and I think, Andrew, if it makes sense, is you want to say, hey, what would you love to do to make these connections? Do you make connections in real estate? Do you make connections in retail? Do you make connections in service industry? What is that, right?
Right.
And then when you go source that article, it could be in those particular areas, or it could be broad, and then you say these are the kind of things I focus on to connect these people, because maybe that's your largest database of resources. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
That's your lead magnet. Okay. So again, those of you watching online, you need to make sure that these pieces are all going in place before you say, hey, let's jump in the pool. Okay. Imagine building a pool. There's a lot of work. You got to dig the hole. You got to put all the stuff in there. You got to put the gunite in there. Then you've got to let it drip. All those things before you put the water in there. And even when you put the water in there, you're not done because you're not ready to swim. These are all those pieces. And I think a lot of people kind of pull the trigger, and then they're constantly trying to play catch up. And then this looks like a lot of work. Yes or yes, Andrew? Okay. Instead of saying, hey, let's put all these pieces in place. Okay. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Super.
Excellent.
Okay, so now, step 5, we're almost done. Whoops, step 5. This is the autoresponder. And a lot of times, this is connected to that customer relationship management tool or those email marketing tools. Sometimes it's part of it, and sometimes you have to upgrade to do that. But if you're going to upgrade anything, this is the one. Because this is the one, Linda, it says this is so you can focus on marketing, not chasing your tail. When someone opts in, okay, so they opt into your offer over there, Linda, this process goes to work to make sure your crafted messages are delivered to those interested in the perfect order every time, even while you're asleep. Now, let me give you an example. When we first started working with SCORE to help them get their thing going, it required manual delivery. Now, we could load up all the messages in there. We had to actually go in there and say, hey, I want to deliver it at this particular time, right? So every time an email went out, we had to physically do that. Some people are okay with that. I'd rather automate it. Now, we put it out. Remember, we said 3 to 6 months content in advance. You can schedule this stuff, just like we talked about there, every 7 days for the next 3 to 6 months. And then you can just focus on your marketing. And every time somebody says, let's say, Linda, you go to an event, and I know you're good at this, you walk up and you introduce yourself, and somebody says, well, here's my card. Please get in touch with me. Boom, put them in your list, right? Put them on your list. And then they're right into that flow of communication. Now, I'm going to back up just a little bit. When you go to your content, okay, building that content, something I want to make sure. When you're building your content, are you building stuff that is evergreen or it has a time frame on it? In other words, there's a stale date. As an example, if I'm a chamber of commerce, the stuff I'm putting out is probably somewhat stale dated. In other words, I have to keep reproducing this content because this week I had an event here, next week I got an event here, and I can't just put it in there automated where if you come in, you start it at content piece 1. But if you put your stuff in there, Linda, and you create this flow of information in such a way you're building trust, they get to know you more, and then finally say, I'd be silly not to work with them or whoever's watching. Then you can take this and say, instead of actually putting a date on there, what you do is say, you know what? When somebody comes in, this first email, so here's your autoresponder. I'll just put AR, autoresponder. Okay, so you give the gift. I put my name and email address in there. The gift is delivered, but here's what happens. How soon will I deliver this first communication? Maybe it's in 1 day, right? 1 day after I sign this up. Then I want to do 7 days. There's a delay timer. Boom, 7 days, right? This is for evergreen. This is the coolest thing because now all your articles, when you're writing them, you're saying, hey, whether they read this today or next week or next month, it is incredibly relevant, right? So now it comes in the first day, they get their gift, and then the day later, they get this, 7 days later, and you can go on and on and on, okay? And we do this with a process. We have a program called Etiquette Moments for Golf, and they are evergreen videos, and we have about, over 100 in there. And so think about that. It's 2 years, basically, worth of content, and it's set up just like that. We give them a gift, and then immediately they start getting these things every 7 days. Isn't it 7 days?
Mhm.
Yep, every 7 days. Okay, and that's for 2 years worth of content. It's out there working. People are reading it today. We don't, or watching it today. It's all automatic. Okay, all right.
How good of a response have you had from doing that?
We have had a great response. In fact, we've been recontacted by a company that's called greenskeeper.org. They have a database of over 55,000 that said, hey, your content is perfect for us. Can we share it? So they share it with 55,000 people a week.
Wow.
They just did a really nice Facebook ad and drove some extra traffic. I think Amy was crying when she saw it because it's so exciting because we worked our tails off on that over the years. So now they see the value of that. So at one point we had over 100,000 people a week watching our videos every week around the world.
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, it's worked out really well. Thanks for asking.
Good.
I'm glad you read that little card I gave you. Okay. So again, that's what an autoresponder does for you. Every time you create a new opt-in, like I was talking about the first person said, hey, she wanted people to come and watch her on her podcast, right? That requires an opt-in. Then she puts like if you went to her Facebook page, there's a thing on there for her now daily affirmations. There's a different opt-in for that, right? Because it's going through that series of affirmations. That's a daily affirmation. So there's a lot of stuff going out there, okay? So these are autoresponders. This is real key. Step 6, market. Because now you're ready to market. Some people do this, as my grandma used to say, bass backwards. They got their market, and then they're forced to try to put something together, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing this, you've already researched. I'm not assuming anything, but I'm going to encourage you. Let's make sure there's a market out there for your message. Do some research before you write any message. Do some research before you get a 3 to 6 months of content written. In other words, if you're saying, hey, let's use Linda as an example. She's that connector, but she finds out nobody uses those kind of people. There's no need for it. Cool. You haven't spent a lot of effort or time. You said, hey, is there anybody out there that are interested in my services? No. It's not like, who cool, I'm the only one there, everybody will love me. No, nobody wants it. They're not ready for it yet. I've been guilty of that. I remember a program I called, it was called the Golf Inspector. I thought it was brilliant in the golf industry. I would find this group of people who would go into secret shoppers that look like regular golfers, and they got their rates at a discount off book, so nobody saw this, so it didn't hurt the integrity of the golf course, and they had to go out with knowledge of saying, hey, when I go to the golf course, I have to do all these things, and I have to give it back to our automated service within 24 hours, or they get upcharged to regular rate. And then we create this flow of information to come back to the club and say, wow, you know what, this particular part of my club, I could improve on. It wasn't designed to zap anybody. It was a very accurate resource. So when the general manager or head pro or whatever, they're in there working behind the scenes, they can't be everywhere at once. So we would do this twice a week at that golf course. I thought it was brilliant.
I think it is too.
Nobody wanted it, except of course the golfers. I had no problem getting people signed and said, hey, I want to be one of these reviewers, right? But the golf courses couldn't see a value. They thought we were just discounting their rounds. And I think this is a presumption. No, it's not. The fear, I think, of the golf people were like, well, I don't know if I really want to know this much information because all of a sudden it looks like I'm not doing my job. I'm putting my head on the chopping block. And it was never designed for that. Yeah. So that was ahead of the time. So it didn't do very well. I think now if I introduce it today, there may be a group of people out there that would be more apt to do that, business-wise, the golf courses, if you will. Okay, I haven't thought about that in a while.
I think it's excellent.
So,
Excellent idea.
step 1, let's just review. Any questions, Amy?
Not yet.
Okay.
You have yours.
So step 1, find a reason. What's your reason for needing that database or wanting that database? Then create your resource of content. Okay. So make that 3 to 6 months. Then how are you going to distribute it? Set that stuff up. Don't learn how to use your email marketing system as people are bombarding you, sign up and going, geez, it's not working. Because I guarantee you, everyone who's watching or has done this, if you're setting up on the fly and it's not working properly, about 1 or 2 times when you said you're going to deliver something and you don't, not only am I now out of your program because I'm not going to, you said something that you didn't follow through on, I'm going to also, through all the resources, through Facebook or Yelp or whoever, I'm probably going to comment at some point on it if I haven't discussed it enough, right? So make sure it's right. Test it out, okay? And then 4, create that lead magnet. And this is something, gang, this is like you can have the best mousetrap in the world. You can even set the little hatch on there. But when you set it down, you could be in one of New York's most mouse-infected buildings, and the chances are you catch no mice. Why, Linda?
I don't know.
No
Sorry.
cheese.
There's no cheese.
Oh, no
There's
cheese.
no lead magnet. There's no lead magnet. So your lead magnet is like that cheese. And I'm not saying you're going to trap them, because that's kind of tough, but you can see you need to say, I need something to attract those people. So that's where your lead magnet is. So don't take this with a cavalier like, everybody will love this. Make sure it works. Make sure it's really something of value to them that they love, like those Tool Time Tip Tuesdays that we did.
Those are
I mean, we spent hours on that. The makeup, the lighting, the editing. I mean, there's probably, what have we done, 20 of those now? We've done 20. So in that situation, there's probably 50 or 60 hours worth of intense work to make that happen. But now it's automatic. We don't have to do it again. Okay, so that's what that is all about. And then again, the autoresponder makes it all happen, makes you sing and happy. And step 6, market, market, market. So I'm going to wrap that up by saying, if you do these 6 steps, it's not 20 steps. It's 6 simple steps. And you do in this order, it won't be like me putting that bicycle together where I say, I got to take the chain off, I got to take the back wheel off because I forgot to do this because I put it in the wrong order. I'm doing it in step-by-step order, 6 simple steps, nothing real difficult. And here's the thing, don't go to the next step until that other step is tight. And then when you go to the next step, if you see there's a chink in the step before, that'll make you aware of it, and let's go back and fix that and then go back to that next step. And by the time you get ready to hit launch, market, 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 you can walk up with confidence. When you walk into a Chamber of Commerce or networking event and you shake someone's hand and you open this up and say, let me just add you to my contact list that's all on my phone, email and name, you know it's gone through your system and you can go on to the next one. And you know that contact you just had is going to be taken care of. I want to thank you for joining us. Also, I want to say for those of you watching, we have a really neat opportunity coming up on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. We're teaching a class on Facebook advertising. Now, it's not just this global Facebook advertising. It's one of those things where this used to be long sleeves, but we've rolled them up, torn them off. We're going to get down and dirty. We're going to say, when you leave here, it's from 6 to 9, September the 2nd, right here at the SCORE office at 43100 Cook Street in office 104, is when you arrive and when you leave, you're not going to be the same person, because we're going to teach you how to use direct targeted Facebook advertising. You can say, hey, you know what? I now know how to fish. I can feed myself for life. I can feed my business for life. It's not just saying, hey, I'm going to turn this over and somebody else do it. I know I'm supposed to fish, but I hope they're going to provide some fish. You'll know how to do that. So you'll have a live working ad, potentially. I'll say potentially, because not everyone has a business, although we want everyone to be here to have a business, okay? And you'll also understand how to read the analytics on it and saying, hey, do I need to tweak my ad? That's only $95, and you just need to go to, Andrew, tell me the location where they need to go to.
scorecv.org/FB ads.
Okay, scorecv.org, okay, /FB-ads, FB-ads. I want to thank everybody for being here.
Maybe the laptop.
And oh, by the way, just some of the things you need, and it goes over this in the registration, but you'll need to bring your own laptop. You'll need to have a Facebook account. And if you don't, you'll get 40 lashes before you come in the door, and then we'll get you set up for that. But Andrew's going to send some information out about that, how to set up a Facebook account. And
FB-ads-September.
oh, excuse me, FB-ads-September. Is that with the S, normal spelling on September? I have to ask because he's from Australia. Maybe they spell it differently down under. I don't know. But anyway, we look forward for you being there. Again, it's $95. It's a very limited size. Right now we have 5 people signed up, and our goal is to keep this class fairly small, because with Amy, Andrew, and me being there, we're going to be really helping you step by step. So when you walk away, you'll actually see traffic, because Amy, who's our for Swing Point Media, she is our Facebook expert. She gets some numbers that just baffle everybody else because of the traffic she can get. So she'll be here to help you. I'll be here to help you. I'll be making sure you have plenty to eat and drink. And just join us. All right. So thank you very much. If there's no other questions, we're going to wrap up today. Now, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Next week, we won't have a Sunrise Business Mastermind. The following week, just go to scorecv.org, check out the calendar there, and you'll see when our next upcoming event is. Thank you so much for joining us.